Test. we can actually just open quick. No, obviously this is the beginning of the Big Ten season, and that's where we really had to focus, the entire preseason, everything. Not that the first three didn't matter, because they're all huge in college football today. And they get 12 guaranteed opportunities, and you got to take advantage of every one of them. But the real focus was like, guys, this is when the season begins, and so hopefully it allows us to push past Saturday. Obviously, we didn't play well. There's nothing I can sit here and tell you that, it was, this was just right there on the edge. I mean, there's some things that happened. We got to be more disciplined. You got to go on the road. You got to win the turnover battle. But hopefully this gives us an opportunity, even after the game, to say, hey, this is the start of the real season. We got to make sure we move forward. We got to make sure we're ready to prepare for what this mountain and this climb of the Big Ten season is going to look like. And I think that helps us to all focus, myself included, every one of the coaches, but more importantly, the idea, guys, the whole purpose of what it is that we're doing is to continue this journey, this climb, and make sure no matter what, we're playing our best football at the end of the year. And that's where we've got to continue to stay focused to do it. And that means you got to get better. And that means you got to get better every week. And to be honest with you, the fourth quarter last week's game, in the huddle before, whether it was offense or defense, the only thing I kept reminding them is, guys, we understand that this is a journey. And every snap of every game, of every play, is a process for us to get better, no matter what the scoreboard reads right now. And so all I want to see is guys taking this opportunity to get better and playing a game, obviously in that situation, playing against a really, really, really good football team in a great environment, but finding a way to say, hey, every one of these reps is going to matter because ultimately we've got to be playing our best ball at the end of the year. We've got to continue to climb.
Luke, what's the challenge you think Ryan Collins and Emerson are facing? How do you square wanting to have patience, knowing there's a high ceiling, but also knowing the question now?
Yeah, I don't think, we said it in spring ball, I think we said it beginning of the year, like, this is not a game meant for redshirt freshmen, I think in particular on the offensive line or the defensive line. I'm not saying that there aren't guys out there that can't play as true freshmen. There's a reason guys are 4- and 5-star, or high 5-star guys, high 4-star. It doesn't mean that they're going to be the best NFL players. That just means they're more college ready in a lot of ways. And what a lot of offensive linemen are just not quite college ready, meaning that how big are they, how strong are they, and that doesn't mean just in the weight room. Right? Because there's plenty of guys that walk in the door here that are plenty strong enough in the weight room. Truth in the matter, that's where the grown men stuff really shows. And so these guys are being thrust into a situation and an opportunity, I guess, depends on how you look at it, that they have to grow even faster. And that's where that whole idea that every snap of every day, in particular every game that you get an opportunity to play, regardless of what the situation is, we have to take advantage of it. And I think those guys are doing a great job at that. And there's a lot of growth, but I think that when we talk about, where that growth between game 1 and game 2, and game 2 and game 3, and then it's the coaches' cliches. I think the greatest growth is in those types of guys. Do you get as great a growth out of a Riley Moment because he's in his 5th year, or some of those other guys? Yeah, there's still a growth, but the real growth is in all those young guys that this might be the first real opportunity they've had to play the game. And we've got to stay positive with that, and we've got to continue to find ways to get better every single day.
Steve?
Obviously, those injuries on the offensive line are a chief reason for the struggles with the running game. Aside from that, where do you need, what's holding you back in terms of running the back?
Oh, you just said it. There it is. There's a lot of things that go into that. I think that we got to do a better job at pushing the ball down the field some. Give those guys a little bit better opportunities, maybe not have as loaded the boxes. We've got IDs and things a little bit better. But I think it really comes down to those guys just working in unison. There's some yardage out there that we didn't take advantage of on Saturday, meaning, we shift, we motion, we do a lot of different things. It's not the easiest thing to line up to, but sometimes that's where the youth makes it more difficult, right? And what I mean by that is when guys are misaligned, well, hold on, that wasn't the look I worked on all week. That 3 technique was supposed to be there, that shade was supposed to be there, that the linebacker is supposed to be there. And when you get into some of those games with teams like that, I'm not saying they chunk it up, but maybe they weren't aligned perfect every time. And where you're an older guy, you keep moving forward. And you understand that, but guess what? Somebody's gonna end up in the spot where you're supposed to be, and whoever that is at that point in time, you're gonna have to block. And for young guys, that's where the game's a little bit fast. And so, if we could ask them and say, hey, we're not allowed to stem, you're not allowed to move, you just gotta line up, it'd be, maybe give them a better opportunity, but that's a part of that growth that, we know that there's some spots out there, those guys gotta be able to work in unison together and trust one another, so we can get more hats at the point of attack of what we need, and give our backs a little bit better chance.
Wasn't long ago that a true freshman quarterback was pretty rare as
Yeah.
a starter. Maryland starting one this week. Just what has happened in terms of how quarterbacks are developed at high school and youth levels that's made maybe freshmen more common to see as a starting
I
quarterback?
think you said it there, it's a lot of the youth levels. I mean, a lot of these guys that are, high recruited quarterbacks, 5 stars, whatever, have somebody ranks them. I mean, they've been playing quarterback, they've had a quarterback trainer since they've been 10, 11, 12 years old. They've done those things, when they come into college, I think that there's a greater expectation and a realization of what they're walking into, right? And they're just not, me coming into college at 18 years old as a defensive lineman is a far different than an 18-year-old coming in today at a quarterback position has been trained since he's been 10, 11, 12 years old. Like, yes, they're still gonna move into a dorm or an apartment. Yes, they're still gonna have to go to class. Yes, they're still gonna, but like, they aren't like a lot of the other 18-year-olds. So I think that's what's given them the best opportunity to be able to come into college. And obviously there's a growth period, but be able to be thrust into some of those things coming in the spring. But there's a maturity level that is far different than any other position in college football today.
As far as your run defense, I know obviously the Alabama game was tough, but did that show you anything against that kind of team as far as how you're defending the run?
Yeah, I mean, that was an emphasis for us. We did a good job at defending the run, but there's a balance to everything that you do. I've always said I don't want to be the #1 rush defense in the country, which might mean that you're not real good at the pass defense, and I don't know that you want to be the #1 pass defense in the country. I'm not saying you don't, right? There are some rarities where you've seen the Georgia or Alabama team in the last whatever amount of years that, were a really, really, really good defense and led the country in rush defense. But, there's a balance to what you got to be able to do. And that's what we didn't do a good enough job of on Saturdays. Thought we did a really good job up front against the run, but also see they maybe went away from it a little bit because of the way they were throwing the football. But that was an emphasis, as we talked about from spring ball all the way through fall camp, that, finding some bigger bodies, finding some more length, and making sure we put an emphasis and a focus on stopping the run, which gives you the better opportunity to earn the right to rush the passer. And we've done a really good job so far. We've got to continue to do that, but we've also got to have some better balance of what we're doing defensively.
Coach, I don't know if you plan on having Billy this week, but if you do you have to say anything to him going into this game, or is he mature enough where, all those emotions that he might be feeling, aren't going to bother him on Saturday?
I think that anytime guys play their former team, it's an emotional thing. It's a difficult thing. I've done have had it several times all the way back from 5 years ago. And so it was always something that I said, okay, look, we're not going to overlook this. We're going to make sure we communicate and talk about this. But it's not going to go away either. So, yes, Billy's mature. Yes, he's obviously an older guy that's been through a lot of things. But it's not something that we would go unnoticed or say, hey, let's let the elephant in the room be the elephant in the room and let's not talk about it. But there's a lot of other things on his plate which maybe is even a little bit more better for him. So he's distracted from, maybe we'll talk about that as opposed to just saying, hey, am I going to be good enough? Am I going to be ready? So there's still a lot of things to be had.
Just with that, do you expect, what is the status with
I
Billy?
don't know.
Also Renfro's.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know on either of them. It's a Monday, which is a good thing. Both of them, are going to have an opportunity to play this week. I don't know how far along we are. Jake finished the game last week, but again, is got an ankle now that I think last week was the knee, and then Billy is just going to be day to day. I think he warmed up Saturday. it's just, we've said it for a while, it's, at some point in time, we're gonna have to save Billy from Billy, but we also gotta make some decisions as we move along here this week, but right now, we wouldn't know.
Luke, looking at, I know the sample set wasn't,
What's that?
the sample set wasn't too much with Ryan Corey, but just what did you see out of him? You know, obviously being thrust into each situation at Alabama.
Yeah, he had 10 plays, he had 10 snaps on Saturday, and to be honest, he did a good job. He played aggressive, he played fast. Maybe that's the situation where, you know, you didn't have a chance to think about it, right? Maybe as you go in and as you started the game, hey, Jake's okay, he's gonna play, you're the third guy, and maybe that's a little bit easier. And then all of a sudden, after one play, you're the second guy, then after one more play, you're the guy in there. But in his 10 plays, we really felt like he played aggressive, he played fast. You know, there was a lot of learning to be had, but I thought that there was something that showed that maybe we weren't even sure about. And sometimes you find those things out in game situations. I know I probably saw it a little bit more last year, being down on the scout team, some of the toughness that I had seen from him, and I think I showed a little bit again Saturday.
Yep, we're back. Hey, Coach, what's the importance of getting a win and getting back on track before bye week, before hitting kind of the tough part of your schedule?
Well, I think it's all tough. And I think that what we kind of said to our guys is we kind of, not that everybody's, it's all about winning football games, but the focus of every day, the focus of getting better, it's not just cliche. This is a team where, whether you're playing with 3 redshirt freshman offensive linemen or, you know, a lot of guys that, you know, their first time playing together with us, we have to make sure that we aren't just focused on the destination. Saturday will take care of itself as we continue to do the things of, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and just keep grinding and keep pushing forward. And we know there's going to be some ups and downs. We know there's going to be some shots. How we handle those is going to be a really big deal, because the consistency that we need to play with and we need to grow with is going to be what's going to give us the best opportunity, whether it's this Saturday, the following Saturday, 2, 3, 4, 5 Saturdays from now.